I come from a community where young people are normally portrayed as violent and rioters. And whenever we have violent scenarios, young people are normally targeted and they really face the brutality of the police, and they are thereafter again blamed for the effects of this violence. I am a peace ambassador through an organization called Sitarusha, Tena Peace Campaign, which is a peace building organization that aims at achieving two things. One is to promote the culture of active non-violence. We come from a community that normally uses violence to express themselves, especially young people, and the campaign just aims at appealing to the general public, more so young people, to desist from using violence whenever they have grievances. Our second aim is to provide a safe space for young leaders around Kisumu, a space where they can connect, they can find their purpose, they can grow their capacity so that they are better placed to address challenges within their communities.
Mawe ni imagery ya vitu mob. Si lazima iwe mawe literally. Kutukana mtu, kupiga mtu. So ni imagery ya vitu mob. Sitarusha mawe inasimamia mbinu zile ambazo obviously si poa.
Stone throwing has been a fighting tool in this area for quite some time, and some people even confuse it to be a culture. So when I thought of addressing this vice, I mean, a lot of people first of all thought it as impossible, especially being that I was a young person. You know, they doubted my capacity to help drive this social change. I think also this area that I come from is an area that is very sensitive and very active politically. And whenever you tried to come in between a tool that most of the politicians had used to achieve some of their goals, then they would see you as a stumbling block. So a lot of times I was targeted, I was ridiculed, we really lacked resources to effectively reach out to communities. So it has been a difficult journey in peace building.
Boniface Ogutu, the man who has been on a hunger strike to protest Miguna's deportation, is admitted at the Jaramogi Oginga Odinga Hospital in Kisumu.
I'm a non-violence campaigner, and that is one of the reasons why I went through a 7-day hunger strike in my country. I picked an issue that was so controversial, and just chose again another effective way of airing this grievance. Just that act alone has ignited some conversation around communities of how effective non-violence can be, because people ask themselves that, you see, so that was just a hunger strike done by one person and it received that kind of attention. What if it is 10 people? So does it mean that that person who was just sitting somewhere, not provoking anybody, not destroying anything, can use that means to, raise such a pertinent issue? So this has really ignited a conversation around communities. The campaign has gained a lot of goodwill within government and a lot of partners who nowadays would want to participate in its activities. Sometimes they invite us for talks. The government has invited us to some of the public functions where I've been given an opportunity to address. So for me, this indicates that there has been impact, and it is also starting to be felt in the community.
We want this! We want this! We want this!
Some some of the ways that we reach out to young people is by going to their spaces where they normally frequent, their safe spaces. And we normally hold forums, we hold peaceful processions. The peaceful processions are just meant to demonstrate to the public how they can use that kind of protest whenever they have grievances.
It's my first time in a Kisumu procession. Na sijarusha mawe, na sijapatana na watu wananirushia mawe. So I loved it. I really did. And the fact that again young people came out in their numbers, and they came out and they genuinely marched peacefully, demonstrating that, you know, after Sitarusha Mawe Tena, that we want peace in our community. I love the resilience of Kisumu leaders, especially young leaders. I love that they still can dream for their community and can come and join Boni in non-violence. A few young people would go for that option. They'll be like, ayo, ni another walk at Wendy, but you know, we're here.
We just assemble somewhere. We choose a route that passes through various hotspots that we know within that area, and then we just hold a peaceful procession. So what happens within the processions is once we reach a hotspot, we use art. So artists perform, which mobilizes people, and then we just briefly speak to them about the importance of peace, some various ways of active non-violence that they can use, and then we move to the next spot.
Hii ni sauti ya vijana. Amani ndio tunataka Kenya. Mbona mwasahau yaliyotupata jana? Mimi kama Boni sitarusha mawe tena. Wasanii wameamua hawatarusha mawe tena.
So this normally culminates into an art festival, because art is a very powerful tool that can be used to correct and promote social change. So we normally use edutainment to try and reach out to these people. We've had several compositions. Artists have composed songs about Sitarusha Mawe. We have artists like Felifel and MC Haruni. We also have another song called Bila Amani that was sung by various artists from Kisumu who just came together towards the last election and released one hit song. We have poems. We have some short films that are still being worked on. Yeah, so art has been one of the main tools that we use to disseminate information. Human rights defense work is very sensitive, especially when you are stepping on the toes of people who can influence. You know, my work basically is to speak truth to power, and there are some people who really don't like that truth. But then, you know, human rights defense is not for the faint-hearted, you know. Sometimes it takes personal sacrifice to really effect change. If you really want to have results on an issue, then you have to be ready to go to the bitter end of anything. And I always say, if David feared death, then he wouldn't have faced Goliath. If Boniface feared death, then he wouldn't have embarked on an hunger strike. So we have sometimes to make personal sacrifice to effect change.
Boni is the brainchild of Sitarusha Mawe after the 2007 elections, and he's done commendable work. You know, in the field of social change, there are basically three types of people. There are people who defeat change. They don't want change to happen because they benefit from status quo. Then there are those people who benefit from change. If they don't participate to bring change, but they benefit from change. Then there are those people who bring change. Boni belongs to the latter group, people who bring change, and I think that defines him a lot. So Sitarusha Mawe Tena was a bold and aggressive idea against a general feeling when people thought that violence will make it. But one man alone, I think he's done much.
What I plan to do next? There are about 4 important activities that I'm working on currently. The first one is called Chambua Katiba Campaign. That is a campaign that not only seeks to dish out copies of the Kenyan Constitution to 1 million young people before the next election, but we also move around and demonstrate to them some of the relevance of the provisions in the Constitution. So hopefully by the next election, I will have reached out to young people and handed over 1 million copies of the Kenyan Constitution. The second most important thing that I'm working on is I want to establish community justice centers in Kisumu. We've already mapped out 10 areas, 10 neighborhoods within Kisumu, where each community will have a hub where you can come and find human rights defenders, you can find paralegals. There'll also be a platform that is called the Outreach, whereby art will be used to edutain people, as well as holding periodic community conversations over the various issues that will be affecting the communities. The third and also important initiative is promoting nonviolence. We have already embarked on identifying and empowering several peace ambassadors, volunteer peace ambassadors within communities. An example is through the conference that we held on October to mark the International Day of Nonviolence. And one of the resolutions from that conference was the formation of a nonviolence movement. My message to young people is that they don't need to see an opportunity of making a difference and they let it pass. They should always pick it up and make that difference, however simple it is. And they don't need to wait until they are elected into positions or they are chosen or given some responsibilities to be leaders. Leadership can be done in their own humble and simple positions. The next narrative of this country and Africa will not be written by the big names that we always look up to. The next narrative of this country will be led by simple people like you and me. We just need to find our purpose and we take the leadership role of leading that change. That's what we need to do as young people.
Sitarusha Mawe has changed lives within this community. I've seen the young boys and girls who were so rowdy, who were in this different kind of addictionals. That is what I can say. They have changed, and you saw them here today. They were here, they were talking about peace, they were preaching peace. So when you see Sitarusha Mawe, you see a name that has changed the community and a name that has stood with the youth to empower them, to sensitize them, to inspire them, and to equip them to be peace ambassadors within the community.
Peace, please, we miss, lack, and crave. We can't gain peace by taking lives.